Step into the Incense and Whiskey sanctuary with mindfulness enthusiasts and verified whiskey lovers, Mecca and Ashley, as they discuss all the random topics they love, from mindfulness to memes. This is Ashley.
And this is Mecca. Hey, Ashley.
Hey, Mecca.
How are you today?
I'm good. I'm excited to see you. Excited to chat. What's going on?
You know what? I thought I have been really working into, I have a culinary background, but I've really been getting into a shift in culinary and thinking of it from a more holistic, spiritual way. And so I want to do a 3-part series called the Culinary Experience Series. And we'll discuss culinary Reiki, cooking as a movement meditation, and food as medicine.
Okay.
So today, I think I want to discuss the first part of that, one of 3, culinary Reiki.
Yeah. I'm really fascinated by this culinary Reiki. Can you tell me, I guess, like generally what constitutes culinary Reiki?
And so this is just something I kind of, yes, I'm not going to say I created culinary Reiki, but there is no real like definition of what it is. So, the way I kind of come up with it is just in very simple terms, like culinary Reiki is just a positive energy shift to food that we consume, right? So it's a shift of energy that we use in regards to foods that we consume before it enters our body and even after it enters our body, and it can also be created during the process of cooking, right?
Okay.
So if we think about like Reiki, is an energy shift. It's a way to like transfer energy to another person, being it physically like one-on-one or in a distance sense. And I feel like that's the same kind of energy shift that could be transferred to the foods that we consume, right?
Okay.
It's like a practice of like a healing system that supports our health by flooding the body with spiritually guided life force energy, which reduces like stress, improves body function. Food carries energy both fresh and processed, right?
Right. Yes. True.
It's funny because like years ago, I read this book called Like Water for Chocolate. Now, for everyone have you ever heard of this book?
I have. I'm excited for what you're about to say. I'm like, tell me.
So for everybody, it means something different, so the saying like water for chocolate is like, it means like one's emotions are on the verge of boiling over. And in the book, there's like a love story. There's also like a cooking element of it. And they meshed it all together. And the one thing that I just remember, and this was so long ago, was how the emotions of Tita, that was when she was cooking, that emotion would flood over into the food, right?
Yes.
So when she would cook and maybe she was sad and a tear fell down, then that created this like intense sadness and longing after the people that ate it consumed it. Like they became sad and didn't know why. Yes. And then there's a part where when she's happy and she's preparing the meal, then there's this intense of euphoria, and everyone who tastes it has that same feeling, right? So it's like she transferred her own emotions into the food that she was creating.
Okay, so it's more about maybe like the preparation or the cooking of the food and the energy that you're experiencing and putting into it, more so than the type of food that you're eating. What would you say?
Yeah. So when I talk about culinary Reiki, I'm definitely not talking about the type of food. I mean, that's a whole nother subject. I'm not necessarily saying, whole foods, fruits, vegetables, meats, grains. I'm not even talking about that. We can go to, that's definitely a separate subject. I'm specifically talking about like the energy of the food, right?
Got it. Mm-hmm.
So not necessarily the type of. And, when I think about it, and I think about like one of the benefits of like performing Reiki on food is like clearing like any negative or harmful energies that's on your plate and recharging with a positive flow. Like this enhanced the food energy from where it previously was, right? Being a meat, a vegetable, however it was produced, being on a farm in the soil. Like everything has a root. It has an origin, a beginning. And so we're just looking to be able to clear any of the negative or harmful energies that went into producing the food, or even like the transportation part of it, right? The distribution. We know that this particular product was made, being it a fresh or processed food. And then from there, it's created, packaged, and then shipped to a grocery store. Then it's stocked. And then, it's advertised, and then we as a consumer purchase it. So there's this channel of distribution that happens before we even get to the food. So just being able to like clear out those pieces before we consume it. The same way, sometimes people will get different objects and bring them into their home, and they're like, oh, I want to clear the energy off of it. Maybe they bought something from a vintage shop, a previously loved coat or a dress. And they're like, oh, this belonged to X, Y, and Z, but let me clear the energy of it because I don't know where it's from. We could use that same concept with the foods that we consume. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah. You know what it makes me think of though? Like, okay. This makes me think of like when we were growing up. I don't know if your family did this. Like we were in church all day. I grew up in Kentucky. We went to church on Sundays like all day. And to the point where we would have Sunday school, morning service. We would break for early dinner and then have evening service.
Yeah.
At like 6 o'clock, we would be at church from like 9 a.m. till like 7:30 at night on Sundays. And the dinner part, it was like potluck style. Like everybody would bring certain dishes. The church would always provide like the main, like the chicken. We fried chicken every Sunday. And this is sounding so typical. But anyway, it's making me think about how you would like stand around and bless the food. We always had like bless the food, and they bless the hands that prepared it. Like kind of in my mind, that's like the old school country way, maybe not country, but the old school way of like clearing the energy or whatever. Because I know some of them ladies back in that kitchen were not like, they didn't have the Holy Ghost every time.
But you're right though. I mean, so what I'm saying is not necessarily like a new concept. Once prayer, blessings over your food, and praying for the people that actually prepared your food is absolutely tradition, right?
Yeah.
And it's something that we do on the end of like, oh, let's pray over our food. But what about even going a step further and starting that prayer process before we consume it and while it's being prepared? And I'm not saying that, you as a person that's on the receiving end is going through that whole process, but one thing that I offer like from Mecca Elevated is working with a lot of small groups that are doing like different retreats and soul gatherings. They want their food to have some type of intention, right? Being it, maybe it's vegan, or maybe they want, they're focusing on a heart chakra or, a certain chakra, and they want the foods to represent that. But that person that's preparing it, setting an intention that it's received in that manner. So that's just taking a step further. So yes, absolutely continue blessing your food and continue praying over it. That's a tradition that will never end. And this is just me talking about, a step further, and we're going into like the origin of it. Does that make sense?
No, that totally makes sense to me. And also, I think the word intention is sticking out in my head. I think like it's a little bit, as you said, step further. It's a little bit deeper than just like, okay, now the food's prepared. We're going to bless it. Thank you for this food. Thank you for whoever made it. Now let's, eat in fellowship. So yeah, I get that. And thinking about your energy that you're putting out into the food as you're preparing it, putting it forward in front of people. Yeah, that makes total sense to me. Actually, Culinary Reiki, you just broke that down for us.
It's like so like Reiki can be used to raise the vibration of our food, whether it's like organic or conventional food. So we're not necessarily saying you have to buy all organic food, because organic is just, it's a label that was created to make. It's a marketing label.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? So just like the following techniques are just some of the techniques are used to just kind of like raise the vibration of like the vegetables, the fruits, the animals, whatever it is that you are consuming, calling in all the positivity and clearing out all the negativity in the process of that food being prepared. It's like we're asking Mother Nature to like basically, we want our bodies to receive the food as it was intended, with all the nutrients that was intended for the food. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. So can you tell me, like, when you talk about like techniques, is there anything specific that you do, or is it like, walk me through, what does that look like? Or
So I'll give you an
maybe,
example of like something that I would do if I'm working with a group, or even like, teaching this to someone else is, from the time the food is, maybe if I've selected the food and I'm like, maybe I got to go to a farmer's market or a grocery store to purchase the food, then it can even start there, right? It can start before then, but it can start there with just like speaking directly to, bringing all the foods to me that, come from this particular region, from this technique that it was used to create it, and speaking this positivity into it. But typically you get the food, say you've grocery shopped, or the food was delivered to you. Like, one of the things that I would do, you can use all kind of tools. You can use handheld crystal bowls to kind of like, speak over the groceries. I know this sounds a little cool, but like speak over the groceries, smudge it with your own smudging tools, being it sage or cedar or Palo Santos. And these are just super simple. And if you don't have singing bowls and gongs or chimes, because you can use all those things, then just go to your YouTube channel and play this type of music, while you're cooking. So I would say, you can play these type of sound healing sacred sounds while you're cooking and unpacking the food. One thing in Reiki is, someone that's performing Reiki on you will use certain symbols for healing. So you can, air draw these symbols over the food while you're preparing it. One thing that I kind of do is I'll use if I'm using a cutting board, then sometimes I may draw the symbols and have that symbol like under the cutting board, just as a way of, showing my intentions for the particular food. It's speaking over it. It's the sacred sounds. It's all those things. So you can kind of create your own ritual. But again, if you don't have instruments, then go to YouTube or go to, some type of streaming music and type in, sacred sounds for, crystal bowls, Tibetan bowls, or chimes, and just kind of speak what you want, speak those intentions over the food. I think that's like the easiest way. Of course, you can go a little bit deeper, but just like on the very basic level, those are some ways that you can infuse culinary Reiki into your meals.
That's amazing. And a really good, like, easy to do tips, right? Going to YouTube or putting the symbols on the tools or devices that you're using. So Mecca, tell me this, so I get how you would approach this as an individual. Let's say you were working with a group of people, whether it be like with your team, helping to prepare food for an event, or maybe like if you're with your family members or friends preparing food, how would you take the same approach as a group and set your intention as a group, or what are your thoughts on that?
That's a good question. So I would set the intentions as a group. So as a group, meaning like if it's me, I have a sous chef, a prepper, a dishwasher, because you have all these. If it's a big group, you have all these, you have at least 3 people or 2 people. If it's just me, then I'm doing that on my own. But if you're working with a group, then it's almost like, people that pray right before they get ready to go on stage or before they do a thing. Then it's setting an intentions with everyone that's going to be involved with the preparation of the food.
Okay. And then, so it makes sense to me that in certain group situations where they communicate to you, we're focused on a heart chakra or something in particular, that they would know that this is happening, or I would assume, right?
Yeah.
Would you communicate that in instances where it's not like explicit, or like, is there like if you were to prepare a meal for us,
and I get what you're
came
saying.
over, like, how would it go down?
I would set the intention. No, I get like, what you putting into this food, girl? No,
Are we going to talk about it, or what?
The general sense would be to set the intention that this food is received in a well balanced demeanor, right? Okay. I would want Ashley to receive this food with the intentions of love, acceptance, and support, right? I would say all nutrition's distribute where it needs to go within her body. Anything that's not for her will be removed very easily. It would be very general, right? It wouldn't be like, hey, I need this decision made and I need her to do X, Y, and Z. It would definitely.
No, but like, am I gonna come over for dinner? Like, listen, let me set the stage. Like,
Okay.
I'm coming over for dinner. I bring my little bottle of wine, probably a vegan wine if we do it.
A vegan wine. Okay.
Something. I don't know. I bring it over, something to add to the meal. And we sit down at this I know you, it's gonna be this beautifully laid out table situation. And we like, do you tell me like, Ashley, I made this, I prepared this thinking about balance, or like, are we having a conversation about it, or are we just having a meal?
And no, I think a conversation, like, I mean, you know me, I'm always having, if I'm preparing something, then you know exactly what you're eating and what the intentions is, right?
Okay,
so
got it.
You're coming over for dinner and I'm like, Ashley, I prepared this, I'm just gonna make this up. I prepared this curry chicken.
Now watch what you say now, because next time I come over, I'm gonna be expecting.
That it definitely can happen. It definitely can
happen. I'm gonna be like, where was this curry chicken we were talking about?
We're having this curry chicken with these mixed vegetables and this dessert. And I really want, I'm just raising a vibration. I'm raising a vibration for like happiness, feeling supported and feeling loved. Like those general pieces, right?
Yeah.
This is what I hope that your body receives from this meal.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no.
Super general. And yes, that is definitely something I would do. It's funny because with over the last couple of months, I started, this is so random, but I started like preparing meal preps for this doctor. She does like she has a lot of weight loss clients. And so I started doing meal prep for some of her clients. And as I'm preparing the food, I'm like, I want this food to be received in a way that allows them to reach their goals with weight release.
Wow.
I want them to be able to take in all the nutrients in their body, use that to help them facilitate their goals. Like, it was super. It's this opportunity came around and I wasn't expecting it, but it's been great. And these women are like straight up losing weight. And it's what do
I gotta do? What?
I know, it's so random. I know.
What newsletter, email chain do I need to get on? You've been holding back.
It's so funny. It is nothing. It's no like special ingredients I'm using. It's just,
that's amazing. Though.
It's just the preparation and the intention. And I think when people receive what the intention is, receive how it was supposed to be set, then everybody just works in harmony together. I
love that. So tell me this, have you had anybody give you feedback from their experience? Like, did you have a like water for chocolate moment where somebody was like, I just felt so chill after this? I don't know what somebody would say. I'm just making
you have had, I've had that. This was years ago. I remember this. I've always loved to cook. So I have a really good friend and she knows how much I love this book. And it was one day I made a dish. It was like this, it was like a turkey sausage pasta, sun-dried tomato capers kind of deal.
Okay.
And it's something I've made over and over again. But this particular dish, it just wasn't coming out right. And we had it together with some toast, like garlic toast and some salad. And she was like, you've done better. This is somebody that's really honest. You've done better.
I was about to say, hold on, pause. I was about to be like, who said that to you?
She was like, you've done better in the sense that she could tell it was something different. She was like, now, were you upset when you were cooking this?
Oh.
And I was like, I had just got a phone call and this happened. And I was like, but I kept saying, do it feel like it was rushed? Because if you're really in tune with your food, you can tell when something's like a rushed meal.
Yeah.
Somebody put their love into it. You don't feel like, oh, she put her foot into it. That person loved what they're cooking and they did a good job. And when something's like, oh, this could have been better, So yeah, I've had both positive and negative feedback. And I mean, I shouldn't say negative, but yes, feedback that wasn't what the intentions was.
Constructive.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So, okay, now I gotta tell you this.
Yeah, tell me.
This is not in any way like culinary Reiki or what have you, but, and I hate to put her on blast like this, if I'm gonna just say, forgive me in advance. My grandmother, now you could tell how much wine she had when she was, because like the level of how cooked your steak was based on how much wine Granny was drinking while she
was turning up.
not the same thing, but I could be like, oh, Granny was really lit when she was
Listen, that's a telltale sign.
Not the same thing, but that's what it reminded me of.
I love that. And that, I mean, that is a good example. And it's something that, I think people have been in practice with for a while. Cause some people love to put on like great music and they whine when they're cooking. Like sometimes my favorite thing to do if I'm just cooking for myself, I love to put on like bossa nova and like, have all the lights on, and during the day, like, you want to make it an experience for yourself while you're cooking. And it's not something that you even think about. And what that feeling tastes like, what that feeling feels like once you receive the food and eat it. But if you are like rushed and like, oh, I gotta hurry up and get this done, I gotta get this food created prepared for the family, I'm rushing. You know what that tastes like. When it's burnt.
Y'all should see Mecca's face.
You know what that.
Y'all know what that tastes like.
You know what that tastes like. Like, oh, I did my best with this burnt oatmeal, whatever it is. It could be rice.
It's real hard to burn oatmeal, but yeah,
I've seen it done before. Or someone's like, "Oh, my eggs are always so hard, girl." So I think it's one of those things that it's something that we all do. We don't put that much thought into it, which is, that's why this is something I think about.
Yeah.
But there's definitely ways to create an intention prior to you preparing a meal for yourself and loved ones. Right.
Yeah.
Cooking is like an act of magic for me. Like, it's one of those things that if I've decided that I'm going to cook a meal for you, then that's love. Like, that's love.
Oh, for sure. I definitely think that preparing a meal for a friend or family member or what have you is an act of love in and of itself. And sharing the food is an act of love. And I mean, you think about all the emotion, I guess, we're talking about it at a different level, but like the emotional connection to food or what have you, it's beyond what you're eating, but also what you're feeling. And that's what you're talking about. So to be intentional about what you want the person that's consuming the food to feel is a culinary Reiki experience.
Yeah.
You need to copyright that. I'm like, where's the book at, Mecca?
Listen.
Where's the book at?
Look at. It's coming, Ashley.
We're gonna put that out.
We have a lot of projects that we're working on, actually.
Too many projects. We're gonna have a culinary Reiki cookbook coming to you soon.
Coming to you soon. My intentions is love. My intentions is like manifesting. My intentions is, having a high level of productivity, creating all those type of energies within our foods. We can do that.
I'm with that.
Same way people say, oh, talk to your water, or,
I remember you talking to me about that and like charging the water, right? With the moon cycle. Still haven't done it yet, but I'm coming around to like understanding better these things that you explained to me. Like it's coming to mind. We might need to play that one back. We might need to reach back into the crate.
Yeah, that was the early days. You're right. That was like,
like charging your water and thinking about the energy of the water when you're consuming it. Yeah, all of that I'm sure is connected for sure.
Well, I appreciate you, and I thank you for joining me on this culinary Reiki ride today.
I'm with it, and now as long as I get this curry chicken,
as long as you get this curry, you definitely gonna get some curry chicken. Don't worry, or some other like delightful meal. We gotta have a patio.
Delightful.
This is getting warm.
Oh yeah, a patio meal would be real nice. Actually.
Yeah.
I appreciate that you said delightful too. Delightful. Well, thank you, Mecca, for breaking down culinary Reiki for us.
Catch us next time on Incense and Whiskey.
In the meantime, take a breath, have a sip.